Here's why I have such serious reservations about the legislation. In an effort to extract a pound of flesh from Republicans, the White House, frustrated that it couldn't raise taxes, insisted on massive cuts in defense spending, some $350 billion by White House reckoning over the next 10 years. Potentially $18 billion less than the President's own budget just for next year. Moreover, the White House insisted that defense suffer an additional $492 billion in cuts over the same period if the select committee set up by this bill fails to produce or Congress refuses to adopt recommendations on how to cut overall government spending to meet the goals of the bill. Mind you, these cuts in defense were not the result of careful planning and analysis. They were just arbitrary percentages thrown out in negotiations, totally unconnected to actual defense requirements. Worse, the cuts that would be triggered if the committee recommendations failed were intentionally designed to be so large, so unimaginable, so irresponsible that Congress would be incented to approve the Select Committee recommendations. The phrase Armageddon was used to characterize this scheme. Can you imagine anything more irresponsible for the Commander-in-Chief of the military to promote, not just promote, but insist on the knowing destruction of the U.S. military as a means to threaten Congress? This should never have been agreed to by members of Congress, but most of all, should never have been promoted by the President. To me, it comes close to violating our oath of office and the President's responsibilities as Commander-in-Chief. Because of its irresponsible and dangerous, even cavalier treatment of national defense, we will need to work very hard to restore spending necessary for our national security and commit to reject the threat of Armageddon inserted into this bill by the White House.
Yeah. Jay, when people talk about the trigger and the automatic spending cuts, it seems to be portrayed as the Democrats won't want to risk deep cuts to entitlements, Republicans won't want to risk deep cuts to the Pentagon budget. But don't deep cuts to the Pentagon budget also threaten the administration? But don't deep cuts to the Pentagon budget also threaten the administration?
I will cut investments in unproven missile defense systems. I will not weaponize space. I will slow our development of future combat systems. I will slow our development of future combat systems. I will slow our development of future combat systems. You know where I stand. You know where I stand.
But don't deep cuts to the Pentagon budget also threaten the administration?
You know where I stand. I will slow our development of future combat systems. I will slow our development of future combat systems. I will slow our development of future combat systems. You know where I stand. You know where I stand.